Let's talk a little Dover. Do we think we're going to see a similar race to what we just saw on Sunday as far as the key players, people up front? What do you think, Drew?
Very much so. You just saw in that highlight Denny Hamlin pass Martin Truex Jr. to take the win at Dover last year. And I think that 70-50 package that we raced at Darlington is going to cross over to Dover. Very similar. I think the car potential, the Joe Gibbs racing cars are super fast. They've won the majority of the 750 races, sprinkle in a Hendrick car at Richmond. I think you're going to see a lot of Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex. As you can see, Truex has won no matter if he's running the number 1, the 78, and the 19. So Martin's super strong there, starting up front. It's going to be hard to beat.
One of his 5 home tracks, right?
Yeah. You got to go that victory in the number 1 DI car. We're going to go way back for that one, but he is so good at racetracks. You know, you mentioned it, Drew. What he did at Darlington. You've got to have tremendous car control to run the speeds you run at Darlington, at Dover. The banking at Dover just flips me out. You go in those corners, they're going to be running from the top to the bottom. So many opportunities to pass and move around. So I think Martin's my favorite, but Kyle Larson is going to be nipping at his heels. Does that sound like a replay of Darlington, Larson?
It does.
He's won at Dover before, took the checkered flag there a couple years ago, and he is the kind of driver you want behind the wheel when it starts to slip and slide and you've got to move around. That's how he grew up, racing on dirt tracks. And when you race on dirt, Caitlin, you run on the bottom until it gets dried out there, and then you move around, look for moisture, you run high, low, all over the place. Larson's totally fine with doing just that.
So Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr. What about Chase Elliott? He's a past winner at the Monster Mile. Hard to believe we haven't been talking about him more this season. He's our reigning champion.
It has, the people's champion. You know, the guy that we've gone into the offseason, we're going to talk about Chase Elliott every single week, and we haven't. You know, his teammates have won. Chase has not had a bad year. I think they're probably circling Dakota as their next chance to win the Circuit of the Americas. But I think Dover's going to be tough for the 9. They haven't shown the speed at the 750s to compete with the Gibbs cars, and really the 24 and the 48 and some of his teammates, and the 5. You know, so I think the Hendrick cars are fast, probably just off the Joe Gibbs racing cars there, and Kyle Larson maybe mixed in the middle.
Well, and you think about Chase Elliott, our champion. He's won 9 races, and those have come mostly in the second half of the season. So he's won 11 races, 9 of them in the second half of the season. So he gets it turned on when it comes time for championship. And I think that team is running well enough right now to be poised to get through the summer, make some ground, gain some performance, and be ready to race for another championship. He's won at Dover before. I'm not worried about Chase at all. I think he's going to be very competitive Sunday.
Yeah, as you mentioned, characteristically, his team kind of comes alive second half of the year. What about Kevin Harvick? He won the most recent race out at Dover. Chances we see the 4 team go to victory lane. It's been a weird, kind of odd year.
So I think the chances, it's going to be a strategy call. You know, I think they were so dominant last year. They had fast race cars. Obviously, Kevin puts himself in great position. Rodney's super smart on the pit box, not only calling the race, but working on the race car. So I think it's got to be a strategy call for the 4 car to see victory lane, because they're not as fast as the Hendrick and the Gibbs cars, and even the Penske cars. And if you count all those guys, you're up to 11 or 12. It's hard. And Kevin and Rodney do the best to run 6th to 10th, but they're not in the top 5, and they're not winning stages or having a chance to win races right now.
Yeah, we haven't seen them lead a whole lot of laps. You've got to have more speed if you're going to be seriously contending for a win at this time of the season. But they grind out a 6th place finish at Darlington. They're going to be good at Dover. I just don't see them having the speed right now to go out and contend, and that's across all of Stewart-Haas. They just haven't run this year like they did last. There was some talk, maybe some rule changes over the offseason about how the cars affected them more so than it did other organizations. They will get it. They will get there, but I don't think they're going to be there this weekend.
Well, you know who was there at one point in time was you. You've won at Dover, obviously,
I did.
Twice in the Xfinity Series.
Wow.
So what's it take to win at that racetrack? Because it's a really tough place. It's tough on equipment. It's tough on the driver.
I think I know this one, and you know, I think this is really important, and I really looked forward to going to Dover when I was a kid. You know, I love the challenge of those high banks, running wide open. I loved every bit of that. And as I got older in my career, and I saw other drivers have the same thing happen, Dover's one of those places where you really didn't care about going there anymore. You know, you've got to go so hard and drive so fast, you're like, I don't know, this is a little bit sketchy for me. Yeah. So guys that think about Darlington as a chance to win, and Dover, you have to have that attitude. You got to be set on kill from the word they say, from the time they tell you you're headed to Delaware.
Wow, it's going to be interesting to see who can tame the old Monster Mile come this weekend.
For more great NASCAR on Fox content, subscribe to our channel. It's somewhere right around here.